fellow booktubers. My name is Lauren, you're watching Dreams Books Courage, and today I'm going to be doing 2 movie discussions. So yesterday I went to the movies with my boyfriend and we watched The Giver, and then we went and ate, and then we watched If I Stay, and it was just an awesome day filled with some awesome movies. So first off, let's start with The Giver. Overall, I give this movie 5 stars, but as a book to movie adaptation, I would give it only 4. But first, let me give you a little bit of background about The Giver and when I read it. I read this book in 8th grade for my reading class, and we listened to it all on audiobook together, and so it was kind of monotonous, the whole process of it, and so I didn't really enjoy it that much. And of course, as an 8th grader, the symbolism within it and it being a dystopian world, all of that was lost on me. And so I think that if I went back and read it now, I would enjoy it a whole lot more, but on Goodreads, I only rated this book 3 out of 5 stars. I would say that this book to movie adaptation was fairly faithful, but the big thing that was different to me, as far as I remember from when I read it in 8th grade, was the romance factor. Honestly, I don't really remember there being that much of a romance factor at all. I remember that it was focused mainly on Jonas and the baby. And so whenever they threw all this romance over the entire plot, I wasn't really sure if I liked it or not. Overall, I think it's probably good for the movie, but I feel like the only reason there is so much romance within the movie is because that made more people go to watch it. And that is why I only gave this 4 out of 5 stars for an adaptation. I'd say that the best thing about this movie was the cinematography. It was just absolutely beautiful how you start out watching this movie and it's all in black and white and you're not really sure why. But as it goes on, it tells you about how they don't even know what colors are or really emotions, and so it's very interesting that they actually made the movie start out in black and white and the color slowly was brought in and more until it reached full color as Jonas was learning more things through The Giver. Another thing that I really enjoyed about this movie was the flashes of emotions that Jonas received from The Giver. Things such as emotions of strength and as emotions of love, as well as emotions from war. And I think that all of the flashbacks and pictures just made me feel emotional as well, and I will admit that I got kind of teary-eyed on those parts because all the emotions that Jonas felt, I could feel them just as strongly just from watching the movie. And that is why I feel like this movie did an amazing job at capturing the essence that Lois Lowry really wanted readers to feel whenever they were reading this novel. One thing that I do remember whenever I was reading The Giver is that I didn't really like the ending of it at all. It seemed very ambiguous on the way it ended, and I won't spoil anything for you, but I will just say that. But only recently have I learned that it's actually a quartet of books instead of just one. And so obviously I've only read the first one, and so I'm sure it provides more closure through the other 3 books, but since I only read the first one, I didn't get any closure at all on it. In the movie, I feel like they actually did it better, because they provided closure at the ending. And so now let's talk about If I Stay. I read this book very, very recently along with the companion novel of Where She Went. And I really enjoyed this book. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars only because I felt a little bit of disconnect from Mia and I didn't get as emotional as I thought I would throughout that. And so I felt like I wasn't really feeling her emotions as strongly as I should be. And even when I was watching the movie trailer for this, I felt like I had stronger emotions towards that than the book itself. But really, this book was absolutely amazing. I love Gayle Forman's writing style, and so I really enjoyed reading this book. It's a very, very quick read, and I knew immediately that I had to go straight to Where She Went. And then I picked up Where She Went, obviously, and I absolutely love this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I got very emotional while reading this book. It's a very good story of Adam's point of view, and so I really enjoyed this as well. And so whenever I was watching If I Stay, I thought it was very interesting that I knew what happened 3 years later from Adam's perspective. And so now let's go ahead and talk about this movie. I give the movie overall 5 stars, and also the adaptation 5 stars. It was a very faithful adaptation. Even with the dialogue, I felt that it was very true to the book and the characters, and I thought it was very true to what Gayle Forman was trying to instill in her readers. The only big difference that I noticed between the novel and the movie was the name of Adam's band for one thing, and the name of the band that he was going to be performing before. Honestly, I felt like the name of Willamette Stone sounded more rocker than Shooting Star, but still I found it very odd that they changed those names. Maybe it was some copyright issue, but either way, I don't think it was a bad change. I just felt like it was different and a little bit confusing. I absolutely loved the casting for the movie. I thought all the characters were great and I loved all of their relationships, especially her family. I felt like the casting for her family was just perfect and they definitely pulled off that really cool family rocker vibe. As I said before, I didn't get very emotional while reading this book, but I definitely got way more emotional while watching the movie. Although it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, I still got more emotional than when I was actually reading the book itself. Another thing I loved was the way they dressed Mia. I just felt like she had really cute clothes. And although that has nothing to do with the book to movie adaptation of it, I just thought it was just really interesting how she was dressed and that I loved how she dressed. And I'm so happy that they kept the original ending of the book and put it in the movie as well. I feel like the ending of it just gives you chills with how it ends and how you kind of have to read this like a book after it because of the way it ends and you just want more out of it. And so I definitely love how it ends just like it does within the book. And so I had an amazing day watching both of these amazing movies and I definitely recommend you guys go check them out as well. I would love to know what your thoughts are on them down below, and I will also leave a link to both The Giver and If I Stay trailers. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to go get back to reading. I'll see you guys next time.